Welcome to ThriveCast. I am so happy each one of you is taking the time to join us for another episode of ThriveCast. Today is a phenomenal new episode, and I am so happy that each one of you are joining today's show. Welcome to ThriveCast. If you're just tuning in, I'm so happy to see you. Please stay here. We are about to invite our guest to the show today. I am extremely excited to have her with us today. She is a well-known speaker. She has a phenomenal story, and she has taken time out of her incredibly busy schedule to be with us today on ThriveCast. Welcome everybody. Where are you tuning in from? Please put in the chat, where are you joining from? What country are you coming in from? I love to see where you're from. Welcome. My name is Dr. Dominique Gummelt. I am Andrews University's University Wellness Director, and it is my pleasure to be the host of ThriveCast. Today, everyone, is episode number 10. We have had so many amazing people on the show, all of which have helped us to figure out ways of how we can thrive better. So let me see where you're from. I'm seeing someone from Rwanda. Welcome. It is nice to see you. Wherever you are, I'm so glad that you're here, and I see that our guest is already on the show. I'm about to bring her in. So if you are watching right now, if you are a student at Andrews University, remember, you can obtain co-curricular credit for this program, and you will get the link at the end of the show typed into the chat. I see the Philippines are in the house. Welcome. Hello to the Philippines. United States is in the house. Everyone else, type in where you're from, and please go ahead and share this particular live with the little airplane sign at the bottom. Invite your friends to be with us because you don't want to miss today's guest and all the amazing things she will share with us to help us all to thrive in this time that we're in. So without further ado, everyone, oh my goodness, hold on. There's Kenya. It is nice to see Kenya. Nice to see you. Welcome to the show. It is great to see you. Hello, Maliaish. I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but it's great to see you. Melody, welcome. It is great to see you. So here we go. I am so pleased to announce our guest today. Her name is Sarah Mcdougal, and she is a power woman. Sarah is an author. She is a speaker. She is an entrepreneur. She has founded organizations, all with a purpose and a focus of helping people to live better lives and to thrive. And today, she's going to join us to share her story with you, and I cannot wait. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her onto the show right now, and here technology will comply. And everyone else who's joining us, welcome. This is ThriveCast. Stay here. Our guest is about to join me on the show today. And Sarah, if you can hear me, I just sent you the request back, so you should be able to accept it and tune in. I hope you can see it on your end. If not, let me know. Let's see. Click on here to try to do it again. Sarah, I'm sending it to you one more time. See if you can see something on your end, and accept it to join me on this live. There it goes.
Now it worked.
Yay! Welcome. I am so glad this worked out. Welcome to ThriveCast, Sarah.
Thank you so much. I was going back through the different ones. I was looking at the series that you have and the ones on YouTube that you put over there as well. And it was, all of them have these really cool titles, Made to Something. What's mine?
Well, actually, Sarah, this week's title is Made to Serve.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So I was sitting there, I was like, I wonder what words she picked.
And it's always a nice little nugget and a surprise here. But at the end of the day, since we're talking about thriving, it really all fits in. But because I know your story, and one of your main areas of focus is serving other people. And so I feel like it's going to be a really great match. But welcome to the show, Sarah. Where are you tuning in from today?
I am currently in Tennessee right now. So
Brilliant.
is chilly outside, but it is gorgeous blue skies today. And I'm out on my front porch, which I think is the best room in our house here. It's got like two solid walls of windows, and it's just, even when it's cold outside, it's this place that I come to renew and to think and to escape from the rest of the house, because there's a little crazy. We have a little crazy in our house always, and lots of kids and friends and everything, life going on. But yeah, so that's where it's my, I do a lot of videos out here too. So it's just
Yeah, that's wonderful. You know, I think it's so brilliant. This is what I love, love, love about technology and about the fact we can do Instagram lives. And this is what everyone is doing right now, is that I'm sitting here in Hanover, Germany, you're sitting in Tennessee, and we can still do this thing. And I just think that is phenomenal. And I'm really grateful for that. And all the people here, I don't know if you saw, we have people from Kenya, Rwanda.
It's fantastic. Philippines, all over the place.
Yes.
I want to know, like, will I get a copy of this? Because I want to put it over on my channel too.
Yes.
I didn't seem to figure out just in the minutes of coming on, like how I could like share it over to mine. But anyway, we'll figure that out.
We will. There's a couple of ways of how that can be shared. And I want to, at this point, just really invite everyone else who's joining us. This is ThriveCast. This is our guest, Sarah McDugal. And Sarah, I'm going to start in right away. You're in Tennessee, you already told us, but tell us in just one short, quick minute, your bio. Who are you? What do you do? Just give us a short rundown.
Okay, well, I'm an abuse recovery coach, and an author and speaker and trainer. I'm also a cancer survivor, and I will get into that a little later. But I am a mother and a domestic violence and sexual assault survivor. And I have decided, and that's something else I want to talk about later, that instead of letting all of those things destroy who I am, I want to use those things to become building blocks for platform to help other people who are going through it and don't know where to find resources. So that's really what I do. I have several books out. You can find those on wilderness2wild.com, www.wilderness2wild. And I do one-on-one coaching and group coaching. I do organizational training and a lot of videos. I have, I don't know, close to 300 videos about spiritual abuse and domestic violence and all the different forms that are in toxic systems of abuse on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Sarah McDugal. Really easy to find. And so that's what I do, is I focus on guiding women who have been in toxic relationships in the faith community. We call it out of the wilderness, because when you're living in that abuse fog, that trauma fog, it feels like a wilderness.
Yeah.
And the wild is where you are fully and completely confident again, you have clarity, and you are in charge of the decisions that you're making, and you're living for Jesus. So that's the spectrum, out of the wilderness into the wild, and that's why we call it Wilderness to Wild. So anyway, that's what I do.
Okay, so seriously, when you were just saying all the things that A, you do, and B, that you have gone through in this really tiny nutshell already, every time I just get these goosebumps, because I know part of your story. I know the things that we've gone through, and it is, and I say this very consciously, it is an absolute miracle that you are sitting there across from me. Absolutely. Having survived everything you have legitimately survived up until this point.
Yeah.
On so many levels. And it is an absolute miracle. And listen, it is a miracle, but at the same time, you personally, because of how you choose to live. Is that a train? That was just
right by train tracks. Yep.
I was like, I just heard a train.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, it is a miracle, but at the same time, it is because of how you choose to respond to your circumstances that you are sitting there. So thank you already for sharing even just those nuggets with me. And we're going to dive into your story in just a little bit more. But in advance, thank you for all the things that you do. And yeah, Denard is catching some of the things you're sharing so we can share resources as we go through this conversation as well. But Sarah, every time I have a guest on this show, I ask 3 questions. It's the same 3 questions. And so I want to make sure we don't miss those 3 questions. And everyone else who's just joining, welcome to ThriveCast. This is our 10th episode, and this is Sarah McDugal here today on the show. Sarah, question number 1. By the way, you only have 30 seconds to answer. I did not mention that before.
Thanks for the limitations.
You're welcome. Okay, so the first question is, what is your favorite fruit and why?
I can't pick. Well, there are a few. So peaches, blackberries, dried papaya, kiwi, the little cutie oranges, and each of them are special from different times. Peaches from childhood, blackberries from when I was pregnant with my second child. That was
Okay.
Dried papaya from when it was like a comfort food in college. Kiwi and cuties when I was going through cancer treatment. They were like feeding my soul with all of the, I don't know, whatever it is. It's just like all the antioxidants and all of the vitamin C and everything. I ate them like going out of style. So
that's awesome. So lots of fruit, which is good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good. Wonderful. Okay. Second question. Describe your current mood right now, your current mood using weather metaphor. So
this is where we skip to the third question, because what I am not good at is answering with weather metaphor.
Well, we can make it pretty easy. Is your mood sunny? Is it rainy? Is it snowy?
Absolutely. Warm and sunny with a cool, crisp fall breeze, and it just invigorated. How's that?
I love that. See, that was good. That was really good, actually. I love that. Very nice. Good. All right. Question number 3. Very, very easy. I know that you're really good at a lot of things, but the third question is, what are you not good at, Sarah?
With weather metaphors. That's one of them. Something I'm really, really terrible at is being creative in short bursts. I cannot just be creative and do random creative things, like people talking about writing books. And I've worked on writing or I published or co-authored 3 books and a bunch of ebooks. But other people talk about, when you write your book, just set aside 30 minutes every morning and just write at least 1,500 words. I don't operate that way. I cannot. I need a solid 15 hours of uninterrupted hyper-focus time, because what I will end up doing is, and I'm a bit aspy, and being on the spectrum runs in my family, and I've recognized that it's actually a thing. It's not just me being weirdly broken somehow in how my brain works. It's a thing. But I can't just tap into creativity while, if you imagine a word picture of swimming on the surface of the ocean, I won't get creative there. I'll get things done. I can get the kitchen cleaned just fine, but I won't get creative there. And then if I'm snorkeling, but I constantly have a kid tugging my shoulder and I'm popping my head up and getting my mask out of the water, I won't get any creative stuff done there either. I have to strap on scuba gear, and I have to strap on extra oxygen tanks. And then I will go down and deep dive until the oxygen runs out. And I won't get up to pee or drink water or eat anything. And it might take hours. And then I will come up and it will be done. The project will be
finished.
But I cannot do, my hat is off to people who just tap into their creativity, I don't know, in these short periods of time, because my brain just simply doesn't function that way.
Well, hey, but this is how everyone is just really, really unique. But it's good to realize, it is good to realize for every person, also for the purpose of thriving, what are you good at? What are you not good at? So that you can really allocate your strengths and that you know where to ask for help, right? So that's always an important element. Okay, Sarah, thank you for doing such a great job answering those 3 questions. That was very good. So let's dive into your life, because you are, to me, one of the greatest examples of how to thrive despite circumstances. And so I'm going to just start with one key question, and then feel free to launch in. But think about your whole life, all the different things you've experienced. What would you say was one completely life-changing moment for you?
There have been a few, because I've been through a handful of different types of traumatic things. But I'll just pull out the most recent one. How's that?
Do it.
A year ago, I had been in extreme chronic pain for about 14 months, a very long time. And I finally went to the doctor because I had found a lump in my breast. And I was a little freaked out. And I discovered that about an hour before walking into a weekend intensive training that I was leading. So I was going to be speaking for 10 sessions over the weekend, and it was starting the Friday night session, and I was getting dressed, and I discovered this lump in my breast. And so I had to completely shelve that and be like, okay, I'm going to need to go to my gynecologist when I get home from this training event. And I don't have the bandwidth to think about that. I need to go and I need to serve now. So I put the box and like duct taped the top of it mentally and put it on a shelf until I could get to the doctor. And a couple of weeks later, when I got in with the doctor and I got all the tests, every test, all the scans, smushes, all the things that they do when you think you might have something going wrong. And it was 2 weeks after my 39th birthday, and they told me it was all clear. There was nothing there. And I was like, that is so bizarre. And here it was almost the end of the year, and I had used up my deductible for that period with how insurance health coverage works in the United States. And so I had like 30 more days before it would reset. And I was like, well, you know what? While I'm at it, can I get some MRIs and some tests on my back and my hip and my leg? Because I have had indescribable pain for over a year, and it's been crippling. Like, I'm limping around like an 80-year-old. I can't run around after my kids. I'm not sleeping at night, and I was managing it with ice packs, hot Epsom salts baths, and some ibuprofen occasionally. No painkillers other than that, nothing else. And it was this constant pain, and one above my knee was significantly larger than the other. And I had this swollen muscle thing going on from an old injury back when I had been in a domestic violence situation. And I thought, this just keeps flaring up. And so I went and got MRIs, and my doctor calls me in and says, I want to talk to you about your test results. And for some reason, like, I was super busy and not thinking that usually if your test results are fine, they just email you the letter or they give you a quick call from the nurse's office and they're like, everything's good, thanks. And so she calls me in, and while the nurse is doing the intake, she asks me the most bizarre questions. And I still was not putting two and two together, but I'd been with this doctor for like 8 years, and they had never asked me before, do you have a good spiritual support network? Do you feel connected to your community? Is your family close and supportive? Do you have a solid circle of friends and family? And I'm sitting here thinking, they must have changed their intake process for new appointments. Like, wonder why she's asking me all these questions. I went straight over my head. Like 5,000 other things that I needed to get done. And then the doctor walks in with like an inch thick stack of print offs. And she sits down, and she's very blunt and direct and says, you have bone cancer. Here's all the information. You have a significantly large tumor in your leg growing out of your femur, and we need to look at next steps. I want you to be referred to specialists. We need to do biopsies. And from that point forward, I was just like in this fog. I was sitting there alone on the exam table, and she said, I will leave you. You can stay here in this exam room as long as you like. Tap on the door. A nurse will call me if you have any questions. Take your time and look over all of the information and all of the scans and the pictures and the radiology reports and everything. It's all right there in the stack that I just gave you. And I sat there and I'm just like, I just turned 39. I have 2 kids. I'm engaged to be remarried. Like, what is happening in my life? Like I've been, I've always done all the things, been active, fit, drink lots of water, don't drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes or anything like that. I've been a lifetime vegetarian. I have done all the things that you're supposed to do to not end up with bone cancer at 39, right? And except managing trauma and toxic stress, didn't do so well with that in some of those years. But so I'm sitting there and I start crying and I'm messaging my fiance and I'm just numb.
Yeah.
Because at this point it's too much to process.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of things in life that were a lot to process, but at that point this one took the cake. Well, it was probably the second most intense thing to process ever in my life. And it took me a few days to tell my parents. I waited weeks before I told my kids anything. I wanted to know what kind I had, what prognosis I had. And at first they told me it was one kind of cancer. And I felt very strongly not to look it up or research it. And that's the opposite of my usual way of handling things. Usually if there's something going on, I want to know all about it. I want to know all the possible information. I want to be super well informed, and I'm going to go into that doctor's office and I'm going to have all my research done, and I'm going to know what questions I want to ask, and I want to know what kind of things that I'm going to be discussing and what kind of options I want to consider. And I felt very strongly, do not even Google it. Don't even. And it was like a Holy Spirit impression is what I would call it. Other people might call it different things. But I felt very strongly that was the right thing for me to do. And I could tell that whatever it was really bad. Because I saw the look on other people's faces when they asked what it was. And then I could tell when they had gone and looked it up, because they started looking at me like I was going to die soon.
As I'm listening to the story, because this is the first time I'm hearing this story from you as you're telling it, I cannot even fathom in that moment, like you said, when you're sitting there and they're just telling you this information and then you're there all by yourself trying to process. I think that these are significant moments in life that, like you say, change everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, the strength even that you're just showing of how you made a choice, like you said, you felt impressed to not look it up, which I don't know how in the world you would have done that, because I think I would have just gone crazy to research everything like I think most people would do, in our day and age, because we can Google everything. And what you just described is it is incredible, because you say you're reading in the facial expressions of other people what must be going on. What were you feeling at that time? What were you feeling when people looked at you that way, other than feeling like you really were in a fog?
Well, as the days went on, because it was weeks before I was able to get in with the biopsy and then get the biopsy results back, and that whole process was like the end of the next month. So I was left hanging for a long time during that diagnostic process. And I told my friends, I said, look, when I know what it is, for sure, I'll look it up, I'll do the research. Until then, don't talk to me about it, because I am going to live as though this isn't happening in my life.
Good.
Now, I don't mean in like I'm going to be an ostrich that sticks my head in the sand and is in denial. I'm very aware that this is happening in my life, but I am not going to choose to allocate extra brain space to wondering and creating all the scenarios, because that's my natural bent. Like, I'll go and I'll play the what if game ad nauseum until I'm creating sickness.
Yeah.
and just destroying my ability to just live successfully through the day. So I decided that I was going to, as much as physically possible, spend as much time with my kids as I could and continue serving others as I felt that I had been called to do without letting this interrupt me for as long as I could. So I wanted to stay as close to normal life as possible within the limitations of whatever I was going to face. And I ended up having to do 6 rounds of chemo, and I had to do 4 weeks of daily radiation, and I lost all my hair, and it used to be down to my waist, and now that it all fell out, and I looked like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, like weird patchy strands, and just it was crazy. And then I shaved it, and then all of my body hair fell out, and I was so sick and so fatigued and so tired. But I decided that as much as I could, I was going to just choose to let this be something that is happening to me in the peripheral, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. So I'm going to live as much life as I can.
Okay, I need to, this is, what you're saying is literally groundbreaking, I think, for a lot of people, because really, truly, this, what you say exudes an inner strength that is not something that comes natural to most people. This is something, like you just said, you were making a conscious choice about how you were going to react. And you know, this is important for a minute, because it is actually showing us that we have been made with the capacity, with a brain that is a miracle in itself, how it functions, but we actually have the capacity to choose how we behave, and that has an impact on how we feel. And
Yes.
that is something that is so vital in this process of thriving. If we let our emotions that are elicited as a reaction to a circumstance really rule how we behave, then we will not be able to thrive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think your mindset and determination to continue to thrive. I focus a lot on post-traumatic growth in the coaching and the survivor work that I do, because we can allow the things that happen to us to define us,
Yes.
or can refuse to let them become our identity. And we can say, hey, every one of those bricks that's gotten thrown at me, I'm going to use it to build something of value, to learn from it. One of the things that I remember, my mother and some of my close friends, they were really struggling, and they asked me if I was angry at God. And I can understand why many people would be. And there have been things that I've gone through in the past where I was angry at God, and I had to work through that. So I've definitely experienced that. But this time around, it was almost as though a lot of the things that I had been through in the past had prepared me to be able to be at this point of saying, hey, God, I trust you. And I'm going to do everything I can to choose to be positive, to choose to be uplifting, to choose to focus on the incredible things that you have brought into my life. One of those incredible things, and I've got like 4 rabbit trails going off in my head right now. I'm trying to get them all in without being out of order. But one of the incredible things that God had brought into my life and my journey during cancer made profoundly noticeable was support network.
Mm-hmm.
I have never been so acutely aware of how much I needed other people's help was when I could barely drag myself across the room after chemo, and when I needed to be humble enough to bringing my family food and helping to watch my kids and helping to take care of things that I would rather be the person to take care of, that normally I would feel like, hey, this is my job, I should be doing these things. And to not feel guilty for letting other people help. And I remember 10, 12 years ago being in a position where, because of a number of dynamics, abusive dynamics, I didn't have a lot of friends. I had been isolated, and that's what abuse does. It isolates you from people who could help. And I had a lot of acquaintances, but I didn't have a lot of close, extremely well-developed, nurtured relationships of people that are kindred spirits, soul sisters, your tribe, your people.
Mm-hmm.
And over the last several years, God has brought more and more of those people into my life, that circle of women who are there for each other. And I think as women, that's a crucial thing for us to invest in. And so anyway, those women and their families showed up during this journey in a way that I had never experienced before, for my kids, for my new husband, for our family, and all of the bumps and everything that happened along the way. Because it's been 2020 has been a crazy year own, but I just took it to a whole new level of crazy and intense, and God brought us through. And a big, huge part of that was that support network, and having invested in that, and then allowing those people to invest back and being willing to receive it.
Yeah.
In that, so going back to one of my other mental rabbit trails here, that whole process, I realized that there were a couple of things that I hadn't experienced before that now gelled into place for me. I'm a recovering people pleaser. I've recovered a lot, but there's still those things, where you worry about what people think and if they'll like you and if you're going to be okay. And did you say or do something stupid, and you play it over in your mind 100 times afterwards, and then you kind of double check and all of those things. And I realized, hey, on the off chance that I don't get through this, if I have a limited amount of time, I'm going to say all the things. And I even had people that didn't know that what I was going through with my health journey say, wow, you have really just become unfiltered on the stuff you talk about. You're really hitting these things hard. I was like, yeah,
straight up. But this is incredible what you're talking about here. I just want to capture that for a moment, because as we talk about really living a life of thriving, this community and the social support that you were just making these references to, if you think about it, I've known you, so I'm sure you've heard this, but you for years were giving and serving others consistently. There are people that you probably don't even know you were serving, and you were making a difference in their life because you were willing to give out there the stuff you had gone through to help others with your knowledge, resources, experience, and you put that out there, and that helped you to build new, meaningful connections and relationships with these women that you were talking about. And then when the time came, that service came back to you as well. And that is such a beautiful example of why serving is such a key element to our health and well-being, because it encompasses the social aspect, but even just the act of service itself. And we know this from health science, from research studies, physiologically, you will benefit from serving other people. And at the end of the day, our parents and grandparents used to say that is, whatever you put out is also what you're going to get back. And
thing too, cast your breath in waters and it shall return to you. That whole mindset.
Yep.
That was one of the points I wanted to make, one of those little rabbit trails. So you brought it right back around to that. In that journey of realizing I had cancer, realizing this was really, really important, and deciding how I was going to approach it, I wrestled with, do I keep this myself? Like, do I just keep it quiet and just keep it among family and immediate friends? Or do I put it out there?
Yeah.
Because with what I do, I have a fairly large social media platform and a lot of followers. And I thought, I should just like kind of check out. Like that occurred to me, like, how do I handle this? Should I just kind of go incognito for a while? Should I buy a wig and act like nothing is happening and just do videos on good days? And anyway, I decided that I was going to be public about it, and that I'm going to not hold back on aspects of, just the general journey of what I was going through. And I'm going to go ahead and share that. So I did live videos with my head and my hair falling out and with my head bald. And I just talked about the journey and shared with people how I was doing that day. And one of the things that was really beautiful that I did not expect that came out of that was a much greater recognition of how toxic stress, especially complex stress and complex trauma that goes on for long periods of time, affects so many women. So we have women who've lived through domestic violence or who have had a lot of adverse childhood experiences. And it happens to men too. So I'm not leaving men out, but I work with women. So that's my demographic. I work with females. But there are so many domestic violence survivors who end up with autoimmune issues, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, other undiagnosed kind of syndromes, cancers, and all of these things, even if they're living an otherwise healthy life. And the one common thread through it is toxic stress that is ongoing for long periods of time. I have a friend who lived for 18 years in a violently abusive marriage, and she had, at like 40 or 42, the bones of a 75-year-old. Like the osteoporosis, the bone density damage because of nothing other than living in toxic stress and complex trauma for years on end was horrific. And she has to treat herself as though she's an elderly lady and be super careful with what she chooses to do with her body, not to damage herself further. So as I began, as I decided to be open about my story, all of a sudden there was this outpouring of all these women who follow all the trauma stuff. And they're like, me too. I'm suffering with this. I've got this. Wow, I didn't realize that XYZ, mysterious, unexplained everything, is tied to the trauma that I've been through, the way that I've handled stress. And so in that journey, I actually discovered that I had more in common with so many of the people I work to serve than if I had kept it to myself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Able to support and inspire them. And part of that journey for me was shifting from why me, God, because we often ask that question whenever we're going through something hard, to why not me? Why do I think that I have the right somehow to, for whatever reason, be exempt from pain or sickness or hardship in a world that is filled with pain and sickness and hardship everywhere we look? Why do I think innately, why do each of us think, like, why me, God? How arrogant is that? Why not me? Why not me along with everyone else? What have I done to say that I shouldn't experience suffering in a world that's filled with suffering? Especially if we take the suffering that we do experience and we turn around and use it to reach back into the flames to whoever is still consumed by that experience and doesn't have the resources, and serve them.
It's such a beautiful illustration exactly of this element to showcase that we were made to serve, but again, the strength that it requires to shift that mindset, to actually intentionally every day to make a choice to live that way, to live a life of thriving, is really a choice. It's not some kind of random thing that just happens. Like you say, it is about shifting the way you think and asking, instead of why, ask why not, right? Or, you know, really truly, many times when I talk to people about their processes as well, I say, instead of asking why don't you ask how? If so why, who cares? It is what it is. So how am I going to respond to what is there, and
Yeah.
how can I maximize
Mm-hmm.
that which I've been given to continuously be a blessing to other people? But that in itself just shows growth. And I really sincerely admire you for how you've been able to even take that story on top of all the other stories you've gone through, and then find the strength, like you say, to go public, because that does take a lot of strength as well, because you realize, you know, you're showing your complete vulnerability of everything that you're going through. You do not know the outcome of what's happening, and yet you are helping other people to feel understood, to feel like they're not alone in this process. And that is just such a beautiful thing. Thank you for doing that, because a lot of women and people have found hope through that. And as I was looking at the chat, Sarah, down here, and I'm trying to scroll here, we had a couple of questions that came in the process, and maybe we can take just a second to talk about that. One question was, what do you think, Sarah, is more important, a healthy mindset or a healthy lifestyle?
Well, I will be the first to advocate for a healthy lifestyle, because I think that the choices that we make in our nutrition, in our exercise, in our sleep, and I would add to a healthy lifestyle, choosing a non-toxic environment, because you cannot heal in the same environment that makes you sick, that kind of thing. I'm a huge advocate for a healthy lifestyle. Drink all the water, eat all the fresh raw food, you know, do all the things that we know are good for our bodies. But that will only get you so far, because genetics, we have epigenetics that get switched on or off based on the traumas that we go through. We still have trauma and experiences. So I believe that the choice to be healthy is incredibly important in a physical way, but the choice to have an uplifting mindset is the defining factor as to whether we will get swept away when we do have things that happen despite choosing healthy lifestyle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exactly like you say. This is not what is better than the other or more important. You really need both elements.
Yes, it's
working
both.
in harmony. Yeah.
One thing I really want to point out in answering this question, and that is that there is such a thing as toxic positivity. So just being positive, hey, everything's great, nothing is wrong, we're going to be awesome today, and just shove that. You have to be real and take an assessment of the things that you're facing. Sometimes having a really positive, healthy mindset is saying, today sucks.
Yeah.
Today is a rough day. I am not having a good day today. I do not feel like dragging my butt out of bed today. I'm going to allow myself to do the minimum essential things, and then I'm going to go back to bed and I'm going to rest, because that's where my body needs to be and that's where my mind needs to be. So don't swing the opposite direction and just be like, well, I just need to be positive and bubbly about everything, because that's fake.
Yep.
So I think that in that uplifting mindset, there's a mindset of strength that says, I will persevere. I am not going to succumb and act like this is a permanent thing, because things will pass and life will change. I am going to surrender to the things that are important or hard today, and I'm going to give myself grace and compassion. So that mindset is huge.
Absolutely. I can only underscore that. And I'm going to just really quickly answer another question here, because I have to look at the time as well, where we are. We never have nearly enough time for all the things we want to do. But another question came here, serving other people outside the family, right? Not just serving husband and kids with no purpose outside of that. Yes, absolutely. When we talk about serving others, we're not limiting service to just your immediate family, although it does make sense to serve the people that are closest to you and not to ignore them. I mean, that's you know,
Yes.
oftentimes that happens. So, you know, definitely look at who's close to you, who's around you. But yes, the health benefits for yourself and the recipient of the service are not limited. So, you know, human beings can all be served in different ways. So you may have a particular passion of service that really resonates with you, and that might be related to your strengths or your skills or your abilities, your passion, whatever it may be. So find something that you're passionate about when it comes to service. Service is not about checking off a box so that you can say, I've served. This is about what's really intentionally in your heart, something that you want to give so that you can experience the joy of true, honest, authentic giving to others, whether it's your time, whether it's your experience, whether it's your knowledge, whatever it may be. But you will know when you do that, because the feeling is unique of what happens to you when you truly serve someone. So with that, Sarah, we have literally 1 minute, so it has to be quick. My last question to you is, what are the 5 things, in your opinion, that help people to thrive in life? 5 things, practices, whatever.
I'm going to distill that down to make it even shorter. I think there's 2.
Okay.
One is the mindset, and the other is your support network.
Okay.
The way you think and the people that you surround yourself with, I believe, are the 2 most important things. And I actually do trainings on this about mindset, learning how to think wild. And I have it on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/Sarah McDugal. I have other videos on my Facebook page about this kind of thing. But who you surround yourself with and the way you choose to think, I think, are the linchpins for surviving trauma and for post-traumatic growth across.
Yeah, I love it, Sarah. That is beautifully summarized there. And really, truly, this has been an amazing discussion. And I know we like literally scratched the surface of your life. There's so much more to tell.
Not even scratch in the surface.
I was going to say, but really, I think it is an amazing thing that you have the willingness and the openness and the strength to talk about what you've experienced, and that you're willing to constantly give and serve so that others can be inspired. I think everyone viewing right now live, everyone who was here, everyone who is viewing this as a recording, I know that you will have found something that will inspire you. I don't know what your situation is in life. I don't know what you're struggling with. I don't know what your trauma is that you've experienced that you may be aware of or may not yet be aware of. But the point here is today is that no matter what has happened or is happening, you have been made to matter. You are extraordinary. You are loved. And every single one of you has the ability to make a choice to thrive despite of your circumstances. But this is not possible, like Sarah just said, unless you choose a different mindset and unless you find and reach out to a support system. And believe me, even if you cannot see a support system, there are people that are there for you. Reach out to them, reach out to us. Even if you don't know people well, reach out, because there's people who care and who are available to you. Right now, many of us are going through a difficult time, particularly this year, whatever it may be. Maybe you've lost your job. Maybe you do not know what tomorrow brings. But remember that you are extraordinary, and that no matter what, there's always another day, and there's always another option. And so don't give up, keep hope. And I am just so thrilled to have had 10 episodes of our program ThriveCast. And if you have not seen any of the other episodes, I invite you to go to the Andrews University IGTV on the Instagram account to look at the other episodes we've had over the last few weeks with amazing guests sharing their experiences, their expertise, and their insight of how you can thrive better. I'm going to go back and listen to them, because I am learning from the people I'm talking with on the show that will help me make better choices in my life. And as we enter into this next season of whatever the next weeks will bring for you, I just encourage you to rewatch those episodes and transfer what you hear into practice, because theory without practice does not change anything. So change your life, make a difference. And if you need help, reach out to us. Last but not least, I've already seen that Denard has pasted in here. I'm hoping Denard somewhere in the chat, the link for our students. If you're an Andrews University student, you can get co-curricular credit if you watch today's program or if you watch the recording. So go to the link to obtain your credit. And I also want to invite you today at this point to follow Sarah McDugal on her social media channels. All the links are in the chat. Scroll up and down so that you can see that, so that you can connect with her and the resources she has that may be relevant to you. And last but not least, I want to invite you today to follow me on Instagram as well, which is at Dominique Alive. Denard, if you don't mind putting that in the chat, because while we're going to take a break from ThriveCast over the holiday season, we will commence with season 2 in January with ThriveCast. But in the meantime, follow me on my Instagram account because we're going to launch a Living Alive show there to give you practical tips on how you can change your life and live better. So with that, Sarah, I'm giving you the final word of the day.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you, Dominique. It's been an honor to be here. And if you are watching, whatever country you are in, whatever point you are at in life, I want you to know that no matter how hard hit you may have been in other adverse experiences, in the adverse experiences of 2020, because it's packed a sucker punch, I mean, to all of us. And whatever you have been through, there are resources and there are people who have also been journeying through something similar. Don't be afraid to reach out. And if something doesn't feel right, if you are wondering if you are in an abusive relationship, if you are wondering if you are in an abusive faith community, if you are wondering if you are in an abusive friendship, send me a message. Check out the stuff. If you are wondering about improved health, check out Dr. Dominique's stuff. But whatever it is that you are facing, there are others guaranteed in this world who are out there and who are willing to help. So my challenge to you is to go ahead and reach out to find those resources, because your whole future of thriving depends on it.
I love it. Thank you, Sarah, for those final words. I'm sending all my love to all of our viewers all over the world. And remember, live to thrive. Thank you guys, and bye-bye.